Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to attend today's Data 3 AISWA Microsoft EES Anniversary update. Joining me today, we have Monica, the Academic Commercial Account Executive at Microsoft, and also Dave Wayne, our National Education Lead. We're going to attempt to answer all your questions throughout the live event, but if it hasn't been answered, if there's a question that we haven't answered for you, we'll get to it definitely at the end in the allocated slot for questions. I just wanted to run through the consortia quickly. Basically, we will run through the consortia summary as an agenda item. Then we're going to have Monica run through the Enrolment for Education Solutions recap. So taking you through what is an EQU, what's not an EQU, the concessions that are available specifically to this agreement for AISWA, a recap on Microsoft 365 education, also the student use benefits that are available through your agreement, and some exciting announcements regarding Imagine Academy. Then I will take over and take you through the anniversary process and also some important reminders, and then we'll close on some questions. But I just wanted to take you all through just a quick summary of the Enrolment for Education Solutions Consortia with AISWA and Microsoft. So the program is called Enrolment for Education Solutions. Sometimes you'll hear me refer to it as EES. We love the acronyms. Basically, when you're raising VLSC requests or you're speaking to Microsoft via the admin center, it's really important just to distinguish that you are on a Enrolment for Education Solutions agreement if they ask, or they might even refer to it as a campus agreement. The start date of this agreement was the 1st of May 2020. We are now approaching the second year, so we're in the first anniversary of the 1st of May 2021. The renewal date for the agreement will be in 2023. So a question that I get asked quite a lot is if this year is a renewal. It's not a renewal, it's just an anniversary. So all the hard work was done last year, and thank you for all the time and effort that you put into your renewal last year with the help of AISWA, Microsoft and Data 3. This year should be very simple for yourselves. So, and we'll take you through that process. Under this agreement, in the renewal last year, you would have known that the definition has changed from an FTE to an EQU, and that was actually effective with Microsoft in 2018. And Monica's going to take you through the definition on what an EQU is again in the coming slides. We moved from the education desktop to Microsoft 365 education, which was a great development, and it provided a lot more value for the schools with inclusions like Minecraft, etc. And then there was the introduction of student use benefits, which are aligned to M365A3 or your A5 commit. Special licensing concessions, which Monica will take you through, that only are specific to AISWA. And also the added value in in M365 education, like Minecraft education, Microsoft Intune, and loads of security features and compliance features. Now I'm just going to hand over to Monica from Microsoft just to run through and recap on the agreement.
Thanks, Yaz. I'm hoping everyone can hear me. Hi, everyone. I think I've probably spoken to all of you before. Monica Ganatra here from Microsoft. I'm the Academic Commercial Executive. Thanks, Yaz, for that great overview. So, look, a lot of the stuff we have spoken about last year and the year before, but we did want to recap on it because, I know these are questions that we continue to get. And leading up to the anniversary, it's a really good time to think of, your user count. Does that need to be changed? Because anniversary is a perfect opportunity to update that. So this slide is probably very familiar to all of you, but this is really the basis of this agreement. Now, the good news is there's nothing changed for the anniversary, so we're still operating on that education qualified user. As Yasmin mentioned, we did have a big change from FTE to EQU last year, but this is now locked in for the 3-year agreement till 2023. Now, an education qualified user is really any employee or contractor, so it doesn't include students, who accesses or uses an education platform product for the benefit of the institution. Now, in very simple terms, you can see the products that are circled on the screen here. Now, if anyone within your school is using those products or you want to give them access to those products, essentially they'll need a license, so they'll count as one user. If you do not license them, it simply means they won't be able to access either the A3 or the A5 suite. So it's really important to get those numbers right, because when you do come to anniversary and, for example, you haven't licensed someone, unfortunately, they will not have a license. So think about it from an access point of view. Do you want to give that person access or not? If so, they would be an education qualified user. Moving on to the next slide, this is something we put together just to help schools guide through what's an education qualified user and what isn't. So as you can see on the screen here, you really need to work your way through this sort of diagram to determine are they an EQU or are they not. So the first question you ask is, are they an employee or contractor? If the answer is yes, the key thing, as I mentioned before, to think about is, are they accessing or do they need any of the products that are circled on the screen? If the answer is yes, then they will be counted as an EQU and will go towards that count. Now, if they are not an EQU, there is an offering for them, and it's called Office 365 A1, which I know a lot of schools have ordered under their agreement. So Office 365 A1, it really is for those light users that don't need that rich functionality. So it has things in there like Office Online, Exchange Online. It also has Teams in there as well. But as soon as they start to need that rich capability, if they need the desktop version of Excel, if you want to give them an Intune license, if you want to give them Azure Active Directory license, then they will need to be an EQU. So we're just going to go through some examples. These are some, and I know there's a lot of different scenarios, and we've tried to build this over the years, but of course we totally understand this won't capture anything. So as you lead up to the process, feel free to, go to Data 3 and myself to really ask any specific scenarios. But these are some that we've gotten over the years, and these are really scenarios that are education qualified users. So these particular roles, they need those education platform products for their day-to-day jobs, and that's why they count as an education qualified user. Now you can see the products that are highlighted in bold, they're the ones that they need access to, and that's what makes them an education qualified user. So let's just take an example, a full-time teacher, they need to reset their password through self-service password reset. Now that is a feature of Azure Active Directory Premium, and therefore that is an education platform product, which would make them an EQU. So that's an example of an education qualified user. Now, if we move on to the next side, which is the flip side of this, is a non-EQU. So as I touched before, there is this license called Office 365 A1. It is a $0 SKU, so it can be ordered under your agreement via Data 3. I think all the schools at the moment do have some of these licenses for those light users. But this is really anyone that doesn't need that rich functionality, such as I gave the example before, your Excel, or you don't want to give them an Azure Active Directory Premium license. This is what they can use it for. Now you even get Teams under this license, for example. So if a substitute teacher needs to access Teams, all your files are within Teams, they don't need that rich Excel capability, they're okay to use Excel online. You don't need to count them as an education qualified user, and therefore can license them as Office 365 A1. Thanks, Yaz. Alrighty, now we got a lot of questions last year in regards to Windows 10 education. Now, I know I said before that Windows 10 education is an education platform product. So, if a user is touching Windows 10 education, they would automatically become an education qualified user. Now, we got a lot of questions when this program just got launched saying, hey, I've got an A1 user, but they're going to be touching a device with Windows 10 Education on it, which is, you know, it can happen a lot of the time because Windows 10 Education does sit as an operating system on a lot of devices. If you think of shared libraries, shared labs, your Windows 10 Education is on that device. So we just released this clause probably late last year, and I think we did speak to you about it at the renewal, but I wanted to just talk about it again. If that casual user, or it can be any user that is on an Office 365 A1 license, if they are only touching that Windows 10 PC for 50% or less per day, they do not need to be counted as an education qualified user. It's only if you need to give them access beyond this Windows 10 Education. So if they needed, as I said, that rich Office access, if you want to give them those security features in, you know, AADP or Intune, for example, then they would be an education qualified user. But if they are, you know, a gardener, a bus driver, maintenance worker, and they simply need Office 365 A1, but they are touching a PC that has Windows 10 on it, less than 50% of a day. Now the 50%, of course, it is a trust system. We aren't actually, you know, counting that 50%, but high level, if it is 50% or less, they do not need to be counted as an EQU, and therefore they can get away with using that Office 365 A1 license. It was an issue, honestly, that was raised when we first launched the program, and we got feedback saying, look, everyone would be an EQU then because they always touch, you know, that Windows 10 Education. Now, the second one is to do with license reassignment. We have been asked this question a lot. So basically, if someone leaves the organization, i.e. they won't be coming back, you can reassign that license to another user. However, if that person is staying in the organization, you do need to wait 90 days to reassign it to the next user. So that is our Microsoft reassignment rights, and that's all included as part of your contractual terms. Thanks, Yaz. All right, so just building up on this slide now this is one that we presented last year. It might not be as new to a lot of you, but as you can see, this is M365A3, and this was the baseline of the agreement. So all the customers that are part of, or all the schools that are part of this agreement, the AISWA data through Microsoft, at minimum, you are buying M365A3. Now, within that suite, there is honestly a lot of different products in it. We will be setting up sessions, you know, further in the year to actually talk about those in a little bit more detail. But today is a bit more high level in terms of licensing. But you can see on that slide in the middle, new value for customers. A year and a half ago, you would have been licensing something called desktop education. Microsoft 365 A3, it really built on that product. So it does continue to include a lot of those on-premise technologies, you know, your Windows, your Office Pro Plus, but it also includes a variety of different technologies that you now have part of your licensing. So things like Intune for education for device management, things like Azure Active Directory Premium for, you know, self-service password reset and multi-factor authentication. You've got Minecraft in there as well. So there's a lot of different products that are built in there that you previously wouldn't have had probably a year and a half ago. Some of you were, you know, buying it in bits and pieces, but now that M365 SKU really incorporates everything in that. Yasmin's kindly included a really good link that actually goes into this in a little bit more detail. So once you get the slides, you'll also be able to access that. All right, so back to EQU. At the moment, everyone part of this agreement, as I mentioned, is on Microsoft 365 A3. Now, there is a Microsoft 365 A5 offering. There are a few of you on the call that have actually stepped up to that. That has an array of security and compliance and voice and analytical features in there as well. There's a couple of ways to buy it, but really think of it, Microsoft 365 A3 is your baseline. So to enter the agreement, that was the commitment. And then you can also step up to A5. You don't have to step up for everyone. You can do it for a subset, but I will talk through the benefits of stepping up to everyone. All right, so as I mentioned, Microsoft 365 A5, it really is a step beyond A3. So it includes your security, your compliance, your voice and analytic features. Now, as I said, this is really a licensing session, but we are looking to partner with AISWA and Data3 to set up a session to talk about this in a lot more detail further down the track. All right, so student use benefits, nothing new here. They've actually been around for a while, but they are a really good value add of your commitment to licensing your EQU under this agreement. So Microsoft 365 A3, once you license that for all your education qualified users, it actually unlocks a variety of benefits for your students. So as you can see on the screen here, the top hand side of the screen, because Microsoft 365 A3 is that baseline product, you actually get all those line items at no additional cost for your students. So Data3 has been ordering that under your agreement. At anniversary, it is an opportunity to potentially reconsider your numbers. So if you've had an increase in students, a decrease, that's something at anniversary that you can change. But it is that 1 to 40 ratio. So it is a very generous ratio. For every one paid EQU, you can actually get up to 40 free licenses for students. So that is a benefit, and that can be ordered via Data3. Now, if you step up to Microsoft 365 A5, so I mentioned it very high level before, if you step up to A5 for all your EQU, so everyone that you've licensed for A3, you step up to the same amount of users for A5, it actually unlocks 4 additional student use benefits. So those 4 products that you can see on the screen, it actually unlocks them for $0, which is another line item that can be ordered under your agreement via Data3. So that's really the student use benefits. Now, just to touch on that, we got a lot of feedback from our customers saying, look, sometimes Microsoft 365 A5 can be too much of a stretch. Microsoft released these new products. They're called mini suites or sub suites. Really, it's the customers that don't want to commit everything in A5. So as I mentioned, there's a lot in A5. There's, I think there's up to 15 plus products in there. If you just want the security element of it, for example, you actually can just buy that as a standalone. If you just want the compliance element, you can also just buy that as a standalone. Now, if you want pricing, please do reach out to Yasmin and the team at Data3. They can provide you pricing for these products as well. The security one does have student use benefits, but it isn't as many as A5, and compliance, unfortunately, at this stage doesn't have any student use benefits, but we have approved some special pricing for the AISWA schools on compliance for students. So Data3 does have that pricing. It is locked in under your agreement at the moment, so you can buy it at any time throughout the agreement. And if you want a quote for that, please do reach out to Yasmin. I know she has included that in the product list as well, but if you do want that pricing, please do reach out to her. All right, so lastly, before I hand over to Yasmin, I did see a few questions. So while Yasmin's talking after this, I will work my way through them. So thank you for the questions. Is Imagine Academy. So this is a really great benefit, and I wanted to actually update some exciting news to all of the AISWA schools today. As of November last year, Imagine Academy is now a free offering. So it used to actually be a paid line item under your agreement. Now, it was a site-based license, so you would only really need to license one. I know some schools have it under their agreement, some schools don't. So if you are a school that previously had it under your agreement, the good news is when it comes to your anniversary, you won't need to be paying for that again. It is a free benefit, and it is an added value of EES, Enrolment for Education Solutions. It is a benefit of that. It really is a skills-based initiative from Microsoft. So it allows your students and teachers to access a variety of training and certs to really get them ready for, those future digital skills. So there's a lot of content in there. I've got a few slides on there. Now, I'm not a product expert on this, but if the AISWA schools really feel that this would be beneficial, we can set up some time and go through this in a lot more detail. Now, coming up to your anniversary, you should receive an email if you are that online service manager or that primary contact. You will receive an email on how to actually activate that. So if you didn't have it in the past, it is a benefit and you can activate it under your agreement. So there should be some, in the previous slide, there's some instructions on how to do that, but you should receive an email with a code. If you don't receive that email when it does come to that May timeframe, there is a link there to some support. But this is everything that's actually included in that Imagine Academy. So as I said, it is now a free benefit. We'd love for all the schools to take advantage of it. There's a lot of things included in there. And, like I said, we can have a separate session to unpack that. But I think my last slide is to the anniversary. I think that's all for Imagine Academy. All right, so just to end it off, I just wanted to talk through some of the rules or the requirements when it comes to anniversary. So as Yasmin said, you did have the renewal last year. We did move to a very new program, and we do thank you for all your effort and patience, moving from that FTE to EQU model, which all of you are on today. So as Yasmin said, the anniversary should be much more straightforward, but it's a really good time to really consider any potentially changes that you want to make at the anniversary. So the first thing is it's to do with education qualified users. So as part of the program at anniversary, you can actually true up or true down that count. So if you've had any changes throughout the year, anniversary is always a great opportunity to address them. Any education qualified users such as M365 or server platform, they do need to be kept for the duration of the agreement. Contractually, they can't be dropped. But any additional products that you might have, like SQL cores or anything along those lines, those quantities can definitely be adjusted, can be dropped, can be added. It's an opportunity to also add any new products. As I said, we do have a lot of discounted products that are locked under the AISWA agreement, which Data3 have access to all the pricing. So if you do need any of those products or you want any quotes, please do reach out to Data3. And yeah, price protection, you do get price protection part of this agreement. So anything you previously purchased under your enrollment, that pricing will be locked in for the duration of the agreement. And any discounts that are locked in, that's also locked in. So if you don't want to take it at anniversary, you can take it a couple months later and it will be pro rata to your anniversary. So I think that's it for me. I'll start answering some of these questions and I'd like to hand it over to Yaz to take over the next part of the presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Monica. That was fantastic. Okay, I just wanted to take everyone through the 2021 anniversary process. Now, if you were on our fortnightly catch-up last week, you would have already heard this, but it's just important that we run through this so we have a smooth anniversary. So all schools would have received their quotations by now from the WA Education team. The email would have come from waeducation@data3.com.au. So look out for that email. If you haven't received it, please reach out to the team, as there might have been a change of contact in your school, etc., and we'll make sure that we send a version of the quotation out to you as soon as possible. All anniversary orders must be submitted before Easter, so Thursday, the 1st of April, 2021, and that leaves us the month of April to start placing your orders onto Microsoft for your anniversary. Each school would have received a quotation and also an additional product sheet. So in the additional products pricing sheet, it actually includes all the discounts that Monica had mentioned previously. The compliance discounts, phone system discounts, A5 step-up discount that are all specific to AISWA. So if you're looking for indicative pricing, you don't need to request a quote. That actually will give you the pricing for the year, and then you can actually punch in your quantity and get the total. And then once you're set on what you would like to add to your quotation, please email the WA Education team and we'll alter that quotation for you. And then also, if you've got any questions about any of the products in there, please contact me directly and I'll be able to help you with them. So once you've received the quotations, which you would have already received now, please review the quotation, look out for any adjustments. So if you would like to increase your A3 or maybe add A5 or add any new additional products, please let us know. We're currently going through right now and adjusting quotations on requests from schools. And again, if you've got any questions regarding the quotation or any of the products you would like to add from the additional products pricing sheet, please let me know. Once you're set and you're ready to place your order onto Data3, we only require one of the below, and it's either just a purchase order from your school or you just need to sign a copy at the bottom of our Data3. And when you sign a copy of the Data3 quotation, it's just really important that you include all the details that we request in that section. So your full name, your signature, and school details, etc. And once we have either of the above, we'll start placing the orders in the month of of April. So basically that would be Tuesday, the 6th of April, right after Easter, we'll start placing those orders. Again, if you've got any questions, please reach out to myself or the WA Education team, and we will take you through all the detail. Now, just some really important reminders. I don't think there's any schools left, but if there is, please move off Office 365 A1+ for faculty and students. You now, as you've heard from Monica and in many sessions, have the benefits of M365 A3 for your faculty and also the M365 A3 or A5 student use benefits if your school has committed to A5 EQU wide. If you've got any questions on how you can do that, please reach out to my team and we can help you through that process. Another really important one is around your agreement contacts. And it's actually something that really is highlighted at this time of the year when we're handling the anniversary for you. It's really important that if you are changing contacts within your school, that you notify the WA Education team at data3.com.au so we can actually update your Microsoft agreement to make sure that your online services manager, your primary contact and your notices contact is all up to date. And also that we start sending you the notifications in relation to the quotations and everything that's in relation to your Microsoft agreement. Around support issues, it's really important that you raise a ticket directly onto the Online Services Admin Centre and VLSC portal. Of course, once you've raised that ticket, if you'd like me to run my eyes over it or provide any feedback, please send that through to myself or the WA Education team, and I'll provide feedback or as we might be able to help you troubleshoot through that. And with that, there's some really great documentation that Microsoft has prepared for IT admins, specifically for M365 education. So I highly recommend if you're in IT that you bookmark that link and you keep it available, because as Microsoft add more features and value to M365, this link will also be updated. So to ensure that you understand how to deploy it, or if you have any in-depth technical questions around the suite. And then lastly, we have our Data3 Connect fortnightly series. We had our first session last week, which was a bit of a recap on the anniversary. But as Monica said, during those fortnightly sessions, we want to take a deep dive into the sessions like A5, Imagine Academy, Power BI, etc. So if you'd like to register for those fortnightly sessions, please scan the QR code that you see here or register via the link. Now, this is just what you can see on the M365 education documentation for IT admins, the link that I referred to previously. It's really useful. A lot of the documentation that you see on Microsoft sites are related to M365 in a corporate environment, and that their suite is actually different for to education. So this is specific to education, so it's really important that you bookmark this link. Now, I'm just going to hand over to David Wayne, who is our National Education Lead, and he's just going to take you through a free offering that we have right now with Gaggle. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Yaz. Great session. Hi, everyone. Just a quick note, as Yaz said, on Gaggle, you may have seen our recent announcements on our Gaggle partnership. And we're partnering with Gaggle because of the heartbreaking stats we're seeing around mental health and suicide in young people in this country, but also because we think the game has changed, and traditional filtering and security solutions that we've been used to in the past just aren't keeping up with what's going on. So Gaggle is the largest provider of digital safety solutions in the US, and what they do is they integrate with M365 to monitor how students are using the platform. And what they're finding in the US is that in addition to a big uplift in domestic abuse because of COVID and inappropriate content, students are using Teams chat and OneDrive and OneNote and even Word Online to discuss and to diarise their deepest and darkest thoughts. And Yaz and I and some of the team have seen some of the things that Gaggle find in these platforms, and it's pretty confronting stuff. And we're finding that the traditional tools just aren't finding or picking this content up. So what Gaggle do is they use a combination of machine learning to monitor and scrape all of the activity in 365, everything from mail to OneNote to documents in OneDrive to Teams chat, etc. And then they escalate any alerts to a human team, a trained human team in the Gaggle environment, to put context around those alerts before contacting the school based on the severity of the event or what they find. And they've got a very structured way in how they've put a rubric, a severity rubric together that they work with the school or the customer on to look at how they handle the different severities. So Gaggle are really keen to understand how they can help Australian schools. They're new to the Australian market. So we've got an opportunity for 3 AISWA schools to undertake a Gaggle safety audit. So what Gaggle will do is they'll ingest 60 days of your historical data in your 365 environment. They'll run their tools over that data and then have their safety team analyse that information to provide a comprehensive and confidential report for your school. So there's no cost, there's no obligation, and at the very least it'll let you know that if you have any issues or areas of concern within your school. We recently did an audit for an Australian independent school here, and in that audit we identified some girls that were discussing their cutting and one that was actually talking about ending it all. And this was for a school that had the filtering and the monitoring tools and so forth in place. But as I said earlier, those traditional tools just aren't able to monitor or find some of the things that we're seeing in 365. So look, it's a bit of a confronting subject, I know, but it's something that we're pretty passionate about, and we're doing a lot of work with the Gaggle team to see how relevant they are here in Australia. We know it's a big issue in the US. We suspect it's an issue here in Oz as well. So look, if you're interested in taking up one of those offers, contact Yaz and we can take you through the process. It's actually very, very simple. Yaz, that's really all from me. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Dave. Yes, do everyone contact myself if you would like to know more about this free security audit for 3 AISWA schools. All right, so just ending on the AISWA contacts for at Data 3. So we've got the WA education team, which is an alias and an inbox that I monitor with my team. Please reach out to them if you've got any questions regarding the quotes that they have sent. Also myself, please phone me on my mobile or email me if you would like a session. I'll be talking to the schools, making calls to the schools anyway to see if you've got any questions. But you know, if there's anything urgent, please reach out to me and we'll support you with this anniversary. We just wanted to go through and see if there were any further questions.
Yes, I think Monica's done a great job of answering them all in the background. Okay. So unless there's any new ones that anybody would like to send through, and we can discuss those.
Yeah, I think I've answered most of them. There was a couple that we'll get back to you on the answers, but I can just talk to them high level because chances are maybe everyone had the same question. There was a few questions on EQU and what our recommendation is. Look, it really comes down to the level of access, and I think Yasmin and I navigating through this, we really discovered every school has different scenarios and different case studies, and we're happy to get into that level of detail. So if you want to reach out to Yasmin and myself with your specific scenario, we can definitely guide you just to ensure that you're, at the end of the day, licensing the right level of access for, you know, that staff member or that relief teacher. So feel free to reach out to us. There was also another really good question. If they've added licenses throughout the year, do they have to add them again at anniversary? So the answer is no. This new program actually allows for that true up and true down capability, which previously we didn't. So if you've added license throughout the year and hypothetically you don't need them at anniversary, you don't need to add them again. But however, if you feel like you need those licenses for those particular cohort of teachers or staff, you can add them at anniversary. if you don't add them at anniversary and, for example, 1 month later you realize you need the license, you can also order it any time throughout your agreement, and you won't pay for 12 months. Basically, it will be pro rata to your anniversary date. So just something to note, that can all be done through Data 3. There was a question on Minecraft and SSO. I wasn't 100% sure, so we will get back to you on that one. And there was also something on accessing, I think, the Security and Compliance Center. So there's a different level of access really depending on what you need, but we can work through that, and Yasmin can definitely provide some pricing options. And then there was something, Yaz, on some further information on the compliance bundle. So I don't think we included a slide on here, but I do have a good slide that walks through it. So I think it was Jacob, if you want to send through your email address, or we can also include it in the slide deck as well. There are a few different ways of buying compliance. There's the mini suite, and then there's also the sub suite of that as well. So it really depends on what level of access you need. But we do have a one slider that talks to that, so we can definitely include that in the follow-up.
Cool. And in the additional products pricing sheet, I've actually split it out so you can see what the compliance price is, and then also what the components of compliance cost as well for the EQU and also for the students. Great, thanks, Monica. That's fantastic. So this session was recorded, and we will share the slide deck with everyone on the call and with AISWA. Personally, I just want to thank everyone. I've been working with AISWA now for 3 years. Time flies. I thoroughly enjoy working with the schools and in WA education. So, you know, look, please reach out to us. We're super excited about this anniversary. We've already got about 10 orders back already, having just sent the quotes. And, you know, look, it's excited to have deeper conversations with the schools, especially around things like around the compliance SKUs, around security, and also topics like Gaggle. So reach out to us if you've got any questions. Again, thank you for your time, and have a good day. Thanks, everyone.